Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Good to have you here as always. So tonight, part 2 of the talk with Jesse Chaos. In this episode, Jesse talks more about the Hayward Skins, Bay Area Skinheads, and about the Gilman Street brawl. So we're going to pick up where we left off at the Circle Jerks show, which was the first official gig for the Hayward Skins. So let's get into it.
So yeah, into the Circle Jerks. And it was like awesome. We met some new people, got some phone numbers, but there were so many skinheads. The place was packed. It felt like, I don't know, it felt like we belonged, just all those people, and it was a really awesome feeling, I remember. From that, we kind of got a, feeling, as we're just a bunch of kids, we're getting an attitude now, you know what I mean? Because we started to think that we're pretty badass. Going out to San Francisco and meeting like skinheads from out there, the breakdown of it was that the bash framework within that, like in San Francisco, there was 3 different skinhead crews. The Frisco Skins was the original. Okay. Those are the first guys that go all the way back to like the late 70s. These are the guys that are friends with like Harley Flanagan's and the Cro-Mags and the dudes from Agnostic Front who used to hang out with these guys. And then there's the SF Skins. The Frisco Skins are a little more chaotic as far as like more of the coming out of the punk rock scene, like kind of like bald punk rockers in a way.
Right.
Not so much into the doctrine of the boot boy doctrine.
Right.
They're a little more, but I mean they still are. They can call themselves skinheads and stuff, but it's just not as. It wasn't as strict as like the SF Skins were more. They were more the like actual political white power skinheads, right?
Right.
And then you got the downtown, the Powell Street Skins. Those were all your transients. Your kids that are like move around from city to city a lot.
Okay.
Most of them are IV drug users. For the most part, and that's kind of where the distinction was. The downtown Skins. If you were a drug addict, that was your tribe. Right. A lot of them lived in squats. We didn't really hang out with them, but we crossed paths with them all the time. Every time we did that, we had a good time with them. There was no animosity between us because this is before all the hammerskin stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, pretty much everybody used drugs at this time. For the most part. I mean, acid and whatever. Those are the 3 groups. The SF Skins and the Frisco Skins merged, and that's where you get Bash. That's where that was created.
Right.
And then Bash. Beyond that, then you have like the East Bay firm, we were the East Bay firm, and then there's Hayward, Concord, Fremont. There's all the other cities that contributed people to those groups. The American Front was something that was not a part of any of that. They were their own thing that had developed, which is kind of an interesting thing because they're known for being from San Francisco.
Okay.
And that's another thing. It needs to be known that the Hate Street was ground zero for the white power skinhead scene in the Western United States at that time in the late 80s. There was no nationwide, depending on who you're asking, some people would say they have a skinhead problem there in San Francisco. Period. If you watch the documentary Turn It Around, which is the history of East Bay punk, if you watch that, the first skinhead, when they start talking about the skinhead problem that they had at Gilman Street, the first skinhead that they show is me.
By the time Gilman started, there also was a skinhead violence problem in the scene. At first, it was just San Francisco, and the difference between this and what came earlier, just with slam dancers who were a little too happy with their fists and whatnot, was now they had a look, and now they had an ideology.
That when I think I'm 17 in the picture. Ian McKay from Minor Threat, when he's talking about it, he says that. He's like, the skinhead thing was everywhere in the United States. He's like, but it was bad there. Wow. Like San Francisco was known for its skinhead issues, because there was, like I said, there was a lot of skinheads at that time. And then in 1987, when I got involved, like I said, in the Greater Bay Area, there was hundreds of skinheads.
That's crazy. See, I didn't even know that about San Francisco. I had no fucking idea.
Yeah, well, San Francisco's dirty little secret that they have. There's a void in the history of Hate Street like from 1980 to 1990, pretty much, that they don't talk about it. Well, it was all skinheads.
Right.
The Hate Street, went from hippies to skinhead, and we're talking white power skinheads too, you know. And so, but the American Front guys, they weren't from Hate Street. They were, I forget where he was from. They were in the city, but you know, they weren't Hate Street skins or SF skins at that time. Some of them came out of SF skins probably and Bash, but he himself was like an independent guy that just kind of came out of the woodwork in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened was, as far as I'm getting to how we got into Bash. So that's the Bash framework and how the Frisco Skins, SF Skins came together to form Bash. So we're out there after the Circle Jerk show. We go to there's another DRI show at the Farm, which is another venue, another place where you go to shows and there'd be hundreds of skinheads. Like there'd be like 150 skinheads at a show was not entirely uncommon. At the bigger shows, you'd see that.
That's fucking crazy.
It was wild at that time. We went up to Hate Street to, you know, drink some beers, kill some time before the show, and we're down almost to the park, like a block up from the park to where the grocery store is, across from McDonald's. There's a parking lot behind the grocery store, and we were across the street from that parking lot. We were talking to this dude who was from New York City. He was a Hare Krishna. He had the Hare Krishna braid, and he was wearing a green bomber, and he had the robe on, and he was wearing dots. And the dude was packing a 45 auto.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And I'm just like, what the fuck is going on in New York, dude? Like, Christmas, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy's packing in a fucking, you know what I mean? Like, what is that all about? You know? So I'm just like, that's bizarre. So we're talking to this dude. Like, we're in one of those door wells, or door bay, you know. I'm looking out across the street over this dude's shoulder, and I see one of the guys from the first show we went to, one of the skinheads.
Ooh.
It was the other skinhead, the two skinheads that walked through, not the one that I elbowed in the nose, the other dude. And he had an iron cross tattooed on his forehead right here on top of his head. And I'm looking, and I see him, and he's looking at us. And he's like, kind of like, you know, trying to see who, like, if he could recognize or whatever. And I'm just like, you get that feeling in my stomach. I'm like, oh, fuck. You know what I mean? This isn't good. Because the last thing I remember was told that those dudes were going to jump us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So that's where my head is. And I'm just looking, I'm watching him, and I'm, you know, trying to make it seem like I don't notice him. He's walking over, and he, like, walks, like, halfway across the street. And he's like, you know, real menacing looking dude. You know, I'm just like, fuck. I told Eric, I said, get ready. It's coming. We're about to be fighting here in a second. He's like, why? I said, look. And so he's coming up. He walks up. He's like, where do I know you guys from? He had a New York accent. I was just like, the DRI show at the movie, remember? And he's like, oh. And I had a hoodie on. And on the hood, when you put the hood on, it had a swastika, like right here on the forehead. And he pulled my hood, and he was looking at it. And he looked at me, and he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, oh, yeah, I remember you guys. And he's like, what you doing out here? And we said, we're going to the show at the farm, blah, blah, blah. He's like, and then his old lady came up, I remember. And you know how skinhead chicks are. They're like, if they're attractive, they're good looking. But if they're not, they're not. You know what I mean? There's whole lot of gray area there. It's just, they're hot or they're not.
Yeah.
Well, she was one of the nots. And she's like, look at these fucking punks. Who you talking to? I'm just talking shit, dude. And I'm just like, fuck. And I just remember him saying, these guys were all right. They like to fight. That moment, everything like lifted off. And I felt, okay, we're good. You know what I mean? Pretty much I was bitching about my hair because I had a chia pet growing. And he's like, well, I was like, I want to get my hair cut before we go to the show and stuff. And he's like, I'll tell you what. He's like, you buy me a beer and I'll cut your hair. And I was like, right on. Mm-hmm. I'll buy you a beer, dude. And so that was it. We went down to his apartment, his flat downtown, and just listened to some, like, first song I ever heard that was like a official, like, skinhead band, you know, music, oi music, was Plastic Gangsters by the Skins. And I'll have that forever burned into my fucking psyche. You know, because it was like the coolest shit I ever heard. You know what I mean? Now I'm listening. This is actual skinhead music. Chromags was skinhead music, and it was my introduction to the boot boy culture beyond just going to a show. You know, like now they're schooling me on like the dress, that what you're supposed, you know, the clothing you're supposed to wear, and all that, and the music, and I'm just like, then it even got more fucking cool to me, because now like we have our own music. Like I didn't know that. Like that one made it 10 times more awesome.
But what a great first fucking song to fucking hear from the Skins, man, who are fucking iconic.
Oh yeah, I mean, because it's got that ska kind of sound to it, and it sounded like they had this timeless kind of almost surreal sound to it. You know what I mean? It's like, what am I? It's like, it really sounded cool to me. Like it really had a positive for as far as good first impressions were, and that was it. And then from there, that's when the East Bay firm was created. You know, basically introduced into or welcomed into Bash. At that point, we were on fire. I can't say that there wasn't no stopping us, because they did. The authorities did stop us. I mean, I think we lasted 2 months, 2.5 months.
Holy shit.
After that. Me and Eric fucking got locked up. They locked our asses up quick. We were fighting just crazy, like big street fights, brawls. I mean, just it was on. And then those guys, the older skinheads, they would just took us and just turned us loose like their little pit bulls and just let us have at it. I mean, we earned our way right into being locked up. I mean, no one made a mistake on that one.
Right.
Like we were out of control, and they put us in timeout. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I wasn't proud of what we did. You know, we got a little too violent and crazy with it, and ended up hurting someone pretty bad. Almost got attempted murder charges. Because we didn't have any prior convictions. They did it as assault with a deadly weapon, hands and feet. Doing great bodily harm was an enhancement on it. Eric got sent to boys camp in San Leandro because they broke us up. They sent me all the way down to Chino, California, which is in southern, like around LA. And it's in Orange County, I think. Chino's in Orange County, I'm pretty sure. I only got one visit the entire time I was there for a year. Ooh. And I went to, it was Boys Republic, which Boys Republic is like the last stop before you go to the CYA, which is California Youth Authority. California Youth Authority was so bad that they banned, there's no longer, they shut them all down. It was worse than going to state prison. There was more violence and sexual assault in YA than the state prison. Like it was literally just a bunch of teenage kids. It was like gladiator school,
Fuck.
And I wasn't trying to do all that. Like I was cool, you know what I mean? So that was what they had. They held that over my head. They're like, if you fuck up here and you don't do your program here, you're going to YA, dude. So I was like, that's all you need to tell me. I ran a stellar program. I did the program. It was actually, I would say it was a positive experience in my life. I did learn a lot of stuff about because I mean, we had like group every day. There were all kinds of like stuff that you had to have like a, certain GPA, because everything was based on like downgrades and upgrades. Okay. And so I just happened to be in the most strict cottage. There's like 7 cottages there. For whatever reason, I just ended up when the one that nobody else wants to go to. But it was also the cottage that was, whoever scores the best every week, that determines the hierarchy. So who we gets to eat first. So like we get to eat, we get to go get our food, sit down and eat. And then before anyone else, we have first pick of all the food. By the time you get to the seventh cottage, there's hardly none of the shits there. You just get your tray, but they had all the extras are gone. No. The soups and all the, so it's really kind of a shitty deal because we ended up last, I think 2 weeks that I was there, and the whole time I was there. And I remember thinking, no, this is fucking the word. Like, I can't imagine being here and always doing this, So it just happened to be in but the cottage, I mean, they were honest. Like, you couldn't fuck around. If you were like slacking off, like I remember, we got caught smoking pot and shit. You only had so many chances doing that kind of shit. A lot of guys, they just kick you the fuck out. Not a whole lot of tolerance for breaking the rules. Yeah. It just wasn't happening. So, but it was cool. I mean, like I said, like I got my high school diploma there. So I managed to get my diploma. So I graduated that program. And Eric Cox got out like 6 months before I did. So he was already out on the streets, running the streets again. So when I get out, we reunited and stuff. But the thing was with us, really close, he had got married in the time that, we're all, only 18 years old. He married his girlfriend that he'd been with for a while, and she was like a total control freak. So she really got to where he was and couldn't hang out. He tried to come hang out with us. She just throw a fit and make his life miserable. So we started going apart. You know what I mean? Because of that, she was that wedge in between us. Probably at that point, this was 1989. I got out in '88. So in '89, I didn't really go right back to the city. So throughout '89, I'm kind of laying low, just going to shows. And, that's the thing about Gilman Street. That's where the shows were at that time. I got one fight there. Okay. So they talk about, it's like beating people up and stuff like that. One time I got in a fight there, and they started with me. Like, I was there with this other dude, and they were like, there's these two punk rock dudes that were fucking decided maybe because I wasn't with a bunch of other Skins, that I wasn't going to do nothing without all my buddies. Well, they were wrong. They found out, the one dude, I beat the brakes off of one of them. And that was pretty much, that was that. But that was the only time. And, he came up and was like slapped me in the head, shit. Don't put your hands on me. That's all I asked. You fucking said, talk shit, whatever. Don't touch my fucking head. That's what he did, thinking I was like not going to do nothing. When he got shown another way, And that was it. That's the only time I ever been in a fight there. So, I wasn't really, I don't know what they're talking about, like all the Skinheads beating people up there and stuff. I never experienced that. I never saw that. I don't know what they're talking about. Even when the times that we went there with like a bunch of us, we never got in no fights there. It's a tricky thing. I think part of it's got to be some type of fantasy shit. I'm not saying it didn't happen in the city and stuff. But it was a different world back then because it was before Sharp. Those guys didn't identify as Sharps, like the guys that listen to Sean and stuff like that. There was Mods, Scooter Boys, T-Tones. They didn't call themselves Skins at that time. Them identifying as Skinheads was something that happened later on. At that time, everybody that you were Skinhead, and the vast majority in the Bay Area, vast majority of all the Skinheads were white power Skinheads. And everybody, the punks and stuff, especially in San Francisco, all them old school punks, they hung out with Skinheads. They had friends that were Skinheads, that were white power Skinheads. There was a lot of peaceful coexistence in San Francisco at that time. 1990, in that 1989, 90, and the majority of it was centered in Gilman Street. One of the oldest punk scenes in the United States is Maximum Rock and Roll. The editor of that magazine is really left, hardcore, communist, almost, really leftist. Well, the editor of that was who started Gilman Street.
Right, okay.
So Gilman Street from the start had an agenda, okay? And it was a hardcore leftist agenda. And they were all about that, so that was one of my gripes about going there. It was this really elitist, leftist shit that just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they were really self-righteous, and then, there's even some of the punk rockers, I've seen the dude from Operation Ivy being interviewed, and he's talking about how out of line they were with it, you know what I mean? Because it really got to where they were just if you weren't with them, you were against them. The Skinheads were the first people that had to go. 86, 87, there's hundreds of Skinheads in the Bay Area, mostly white power. You get to 1990, and we could get 25, maybe 3 dozen guys together.
Oh, that's a big drop.
Huge drop. More than double. You know what I'm saying? At that time, so when they talk about that fight that happened at Gilman Street and stuff, this is happening in the decline. We could barely, that night we got, I remember I could count 20 of us and some change, maybe. There's some females. I could actually name 21 guys, I think. That's right. Right. So there wasn't very many of us, you know what I mean? So this really was, it was the tip, we're not even halfway through the second generation. And let's say by the end of 93, 94, that it's done. It's just not happening there no more. There was a concerted effort. There was some type of organized thing with the left that happened where they really went hard at like I said, the Skinheads were the first ones that they went after, and it got really, really divided at that point. 1990, 89, 90 was really when it wasn't, you got to the point where you could just go hang out with people. Like I remember hanging out with like Skinheads that were half Filipino and half Mexican and stuff. Didn't have a problem with them. Like I said, I looked at what I was doing. I was like, fucking, I'm white, and I didn't ask to be born white. I'm standing up for being white. I'm not gonna let someone push me around and tell me that I'm a piece of shit because I'm white. I'm just not going for that. And at that time, there's a lot. Growing up, like I said, you got a lot of that. It was so common that people just didn't even think nothing of it. And like the anti-white racism was just embedded in everything that we did, in the culture, in the Bay Area. That would spread to other places, but I grew up like everything that, like all the woke, really hardcore leftist shit that now you're starting to see everywhere else. Like we were experiencing that stuff like 10, 20 years before that. This is where it was born out of, and it just spread. So Gilman Street was pushing this hardline leftist, and even the bands that are coming out of there, you notice like all the bands that went mainstream all came from Gilman. Like the first mainstream radio play, Green Day, Rancid, all these bands like that. NoFX was another one. Those were Gilman Street bands. With these bands, you're getting this push, this big leftist agenda is coming with these bands that are now the mainstream bands, all the mainstream punk bands. And it all started at Gilman. It all generated out of Gilman. When they said that we never went back there after that fight stuff, that part of that story is true. But my reasons for not going back there, I really couldn't stand being around them people anymore. It just wasn't our scene, we were out in the city. We hung out in San Francisco. Okay, on Haight Street, there's a park on Baker and Haight. It's Buena Vista Park, and that park is known as Skinhead Hill. And it's known as Skinhead Hill, like worldwide. There's people from other countries that come here, and they want to go sit on the benches and on Skinhead Hill. Yeah, so that corner of that park, it's infamously known to be that's a Skinhead. That's our turf. You know what I'm saying? At that time, we were basically, it was everything from Baker to Cole Street, and then from Haight down to Fulton, I think, if I remember. This was like, because the Skinhead Manor, in San Francisco was on Baker Street. There used to be two there, but at this time there was only one. And so, like, there was really nobody left in the city, and we were coming from the East Bay, and we'd go up there. We kind of felt it was like our duty to go and represent on our actual real estate. I mean, that this is like our gang turf,
Sure.
And so that's what we did on the weekends. Like going to Gilman Street, I mean, like it really wasn't really in our agenda. There we got to the point where, they let us know that we weren't welcome there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I go there, and I mean, I wasn't worried about those people. Like I wasn't afraid to go there. I mean, I used to go to Gilman Street by myself and go to shows. Towards, late at the end of it, like I remember going there and like could tell that you just weren't welcome there no more.
Yeah.
So I just was like, you don't have to tell me, I'm not trying to try to hang out with people that don't want me there, to me, that's like some loser shit, So it wasn't a problem for me to not, to do that. But yeah, I can't wait till we do the thing about that fight.
Fuck, it's going to blow your mind, man.
Right now, you have to go back and watch that documentary.
I am. I'm going to watch that before we do that. Fuck yeah.
I just listened to another one, and then they're talking about it. And I think it's the guy that wrote the screenplay for that movie, maybe.
Yeah.
And dude, the shit that they're saying, I'm just like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I don't know what the fuck, where this part of, I mean, it's like, it didn't happen. Just from the story when they're telling it on that documentary, I'm listening to it, and it almost, to me, sounds like, I mean, it's to some degree, like, they're just, like, making it up as they're going. Like, it's just like, it's not what happened at all. It's like, that's not even, the reality is that's not it. I'm just saying, I got nothing, no reason for me to bullshit about it, lose or gain anything either way. The truth is what the truth is, and the story that they tell is just, I'm sorry, that's not what happened. The fact that when they showed the Skinheads, they all got like bats and shit.
Right.
We were completely unarmed. They had bats. at the end of the day, it really, to be honest with you, compared to what we were used to doing, it was such a nothing burger.
Yeah.
Really, the whole thing lasted like about 5 minutes at the most. I mean, it was really nothing. In my eyes, it was a non-event.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I understand why they are real excited about it, and it meant something for them. You know, I'm almost thinking, to be honest with you, there's almost, I get a feeling of almost scripted. I think it was definitely a setup, regardless.
Like they make fucking hints to that in the movie that it was all fucking planned, like the whole thing all along. So
I'm pretty sure, because we had, I know at least one of the guys that was with us was a double agent, so to speak.
Yep.
He actually admitted it. So I'm convinced that they knew we were coming. There's a few reasons why I think that is, and things that like would be circumstantial evidence that would point to that. But at the end of the day, the thing is like those. If you should take the 20 guys that we were there with, and take 20 guys out of the club that night, stick us in a field somewhere where there are no police are coming, because the thing was that the part of it, the really crucial part, that's the most important part that they don't tell you, is that before they even came out, they had already called the police. Before the fight even started, the police were on the way. We managed to get everybody. 3 guys got left behind. Those were the 3 guys that got beat up. One of them got knocked out and wasn't even around for the fight. He woke up to be getting arrested. 3 guys got left behind out of the, the 17 or 16 that got out of there. 1 dude got pummeled. That got beat up with the bats. That was 1 guy. Everybody else didn't have straps on. So when we got out of there, drove out there with Eric Hogan, when we hit San Pablo Boulevard, the 2 cop cars came right by us. They were already there. Like, if we would have stayed any longer, we'd all went to jail. When they talk about, they were running, and you know what I mean? Yeah, we were all running to the cars to get the fuck out of there, because you could hear the sirens were getting close. Yeah. And that's the part they don't tell you. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it like, yeah, we knew exactly what we were doing. You know, there's skinheads were getting the shit kicked out of them. They didn't know it. Let me tell you something. I've had the shit kicked out of me. Mm-hmm. What do they think we were doing? Like fighting fucking the Mormon missionaries? I mean, out of all the things that we did, the one thing that we did, like almost, I mean, fucking every time we went into public, we were fighting somebody. Mm-hmm. We fought all the fucking time. And we were fighting like people who they were afraid of. Oh. Like, we were fighting like the gangbangers and the thugs, and you know what I mean? That's, you know, fucking metalheads and bikers and shit. Like, we were fighting fucking those, like, the hardest people out there. Mm-hmm. So kids from Gilman, like, there's no fucking way. I mean, with them with their bats, okay, that might have been the equalizer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
See, us unarmed, them with bats, that might have been an even fight. You know what I mean? If we were the thing was, is if there were no police involved, and we actually got the fight, even in those, with those terms, I'm telling you right now, we had some hardcore street fighting dudes, man. Half of those weapons would have ended up in our hands.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, a baseball bat just means, you know, you automatically get a pair of balls with it, but that don't mean you know what you're doing with it.
No. I think that's why it's become their legend, you know, because it's their one decisive win over the Skinheads when it was totally one-sided.
You know, they could have told that story and been totally honest about it, and they could have still told it that way.
Yeah.
Essentially, that's true that we didn't go back there. Like, I know that I never went back there. That was the last time I was there, you know. But like I said, it wasn't because I was afraid to go there. I just wasn't looking for for any problems like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it wasn't worth it to me to go there and force myself upon them, because I really didn't give a shit. Fucking, you know what I'm saying? It didn't mean anything to me. Yeah. And there's still punk shows in San Francisco that we can go to. They made it more than what I mean, sensationalized it like to an exaggerated point. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and they always do. You know, that's the thing I've fucking learned about that side. They always fucking do, man.
There's another story at a similar event that happened in Petaluma that is worse. The story they tell about that is more exaggerated than the Gilman Street one. So, like, I can't give the Gilman Street people some credit. At least, like, in some of the stuff that they're saying, like, you know, in the Petaluma thing, they're saying we were, like, aiming guns at them. And, I mean, just all kinds of shit. At least the Gilman Street, they never said we had weapons. They don't say that. I give them credit for that. You know what I mean? There's articles in the paper from here and stuff where they say, like, you know, it just happened to be on one of the guys that they say had a baseball bat and was beating the fucking security guy up and stuff. It's just like, no one had any bats. No. None of us. You know, I did hear someone said that they stabbed somebody with a pencil, but I don't know if that's true. So if someone got stabbed with a pencil there, I mean, that was admitted. That was the only weapon on our end that anybody had admitted to. But it could be total bullshit. I didn't see it. I can't verify it. I just was told that. You know what I'm saying? Right. You know.
All right, so there you go. That's part 2. Part 3 will be out this Sunday, so make sure you tune in for that one. And hey, if you're new to the channel and you want to keep seeing more videos like this, what you're going to do is like, subscribe, and hit the little bell to get notified. New videos coming out every week. And if you want to support the channel, many different ways you can do that. Buying me a coffee is a great one. PayPal donations and all that good stuff. All the links are in the description below. But thank you so much for being here. I will see you next week. Peace out and love and light to you.